and then we'll do that for you.
Absolutely.
So here are the headlines for this morning. We have scoured through the headlines and then we've got some for you this morning. We're starting off with the Punch newspaper, which says Natasha to resume Senate after London trip, says lawyer. We also have police link 5 bodies found on Lagos riverbank to cult violence.
And funny enough, in The Guardian, we have exactly the same headline as written by The Punch. Police link 5 bodies found on Lagos riverbank to cause violence. And also fire that filling station in Anambra damages building vehicles.
In the Daily Trust, we have how Boko Haram killed 63 in Borno, says survivors. And then we also have fuel scarcity looms as tanker drivers begin strike today.
The Nation newspapers has Port Harcourt, a battery in service will resume soon, says NRC. And Adeleke settles rift between deputy PDP leaders.
In the pen-pushing newspaper, we have road construction. Ota residents appeal to Nigerian government to address worsening gridlock in town. We also have police bust factory producing fake soft drinks in Anambra State.
In the Daily Independent newspaper, Obi urges federal government to declare full war on insecurity. It also says why we stand in solidarity with new NLC.
Vanguard newspaper says UN article Obi Undume rage over killing of 63 in Borno State demands probe. We also have Ekiti government considers 65-year retirement age for teachers, assures improved benefits.
And the last newspaper we're doing the headlines is This Day newspaper. The first headline says Nigerian army crushes terrorists, arrests 7 alleged criminals, recovers weapons nationwide. And the other headline, Jakarta, Nigeria's malnourished children battling for bread in street words.
Yes, and those are the headlines this morning. You can go get you a copy or read online, however way you want to. That's absolutely fine. We're going to slide into the headlines, tackle some of the topics that caught our eye. But we're joined in by our in-house analyst. It's always a pleasure to have you, Emmanuel Olonade.
Good morning, Fumi, and good morning, Tom. And how are you doing this morning?
We're fine.
We're fine.
How are you this morning?
Well, I'm good. And I've taken a clue from your vision board. I think I've abandoned my halfway. Maybe around me or so. I don't know where I dropped my book. I'll go and find it and realign myself.
Yes. We aim to encourage people.
Thanks to your, not you. Thanks to your daughter.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Your daughter.
So said yes. Okay, let's go into the headline. This one is just in. DSS writes X. Once Showere's account deactivated over tweets targeting Tinubu. You have 24 hours to take down Showere's disparaging tweet, or else the DSS tells X. X is formerly called Twitter. The Nigeria's Department of State Services has petitioned the chairman and CEO X Corporation, Elon Musk's controlling company managing the popular social media app formerly known as Twitter, over a tweet by activist Omoyele Sowore. The Nigeria's Intelligence Security Agency, in a petition addressed to him, says Sowore had accused Sowore, of targeting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu with a disparaging and ridiculous tweet capable of creating political tension and threatening the country's national security. The DSS, in its petition, also accused Sowore of spreading misleading information and willful intention of furthering an ideology capable of serious harm, incitement to violence, cybercrime, hate speech to discredit Tinubu, therefore calling on the social media company to ban or deactivate his X handle. The agency, while referencing the tweet, said those words are personally targeted at Tinubu, with the president's X handle mentioned by Omoyele Sowore, stating that the tweet is against the transparency on X and government has frowned at it and found it extremely dangerous, false, and privacy violation behavior. The petition was signed by B. Bamigboye on behalf of the DSS. It says, of course, it goes on to say what the petition is. Now, Showere's tweet, he says, this criminal at official AB, the president, actually went to Brazil to state that there is no more corruption under his regime in Nigeria. What audacity to lie shamelessly. Those words were personally directed at Mr. President, and the said tweet is herewith attached and will be referenced on hearing for emphasis and all of that. When I saw this article, I said, because it took me back to, Buhari's regime, where something, I don't remember the particular tweet. I was trying to find it, but I couldn't, where somebody had, also tweeted at the president, the late president at the time, and then what had happened afterward was, X was banned. Well, Twitter was banned for a while, and it was a hectic time for Nigerians, especially young people. Serap has obviously come out to say, look, this is not what we're supposed to be doing at this time. But Emma, I actually not want to know your thoughts on this. What do you think? Because there is allegedly supposed to be freedom of speech or freedom of expression. But what would you say to this? This thing that the DSS is pushing for?
First and foremost, I don't think this is what we should be talking about right now. I believe one thing is the fact that at this point we should be looking at what the president, official bat, and also Shugure. This is not the first time. They were once close, and now they are the face of opposition. But one thing I would have expected the Department of State Security to take into cognizance is the fact that in the international sense, Shugure is seen as an opposition leader, and attempts like this would be seen as trying to clamp down on opposition in the country. In this time whereby we've been saying that the country is sliding into a one-party system of government. Shogure's tweet was made on August 25th, 2025, and DSS responded to X, not to Shogure, on September 6, 2025, saying that it needs to put down the post. But let's look at the angle that DSS is coming from and also Shogure's angle, because at this point we need to find the balance between all this and ensure that the fundamental human rights of every Nigerian citizen is protected. Number one, the only thing that can take away your fundamental human right is a court of competent jurisdiction, not a security agency or not an individual. Your rights can only be withdrawn from you having been in violation of some certain aspects of the law by a court of competent jurisdiction. Though some will argue that Section 1 sub 3 of National Security Establishment Act gives DSS power to protect the president and act on issues of internal and external threats to the Federal Republic. But I ask, is Shogure Street an internal or external threat to the Federal Republic? Only the court can adjudicate that, not me, not the DSS. DSS can allege, and then they have to prove in the court of competent jurisdiction that this is actually what has happened. But let's look at the legal basis by the DSS. They are saying that, well, Section 51 of the Criminal Code Act prohibits false publication. Who determines false publication? If I put something against you for me, and you call it false, I have to be able to prove it in the court of law that what I've put against you is not false. I also have to tell the court that this is false based on some certain evidence. So if they are saying that Section 51 Criminal Code prohibits false publication, then I'm asking who is the judge, who is the jury in this kind of scenario? Is it the DSS that is judging on its behalf? Do they have the right to judge? Even if you are arrested by and don't forget that during Buhari's regime, Shogure was a constant prisoner. Or a constant
thorn in his flesh.
He was constantly with them for about 2 years. That he was kept in DSS custody and was appearing in court and all that. So even then they are trying to prove allegations against him before he was set free by the court. So if they are saying he has done something that could incite, there is a court process, there is a place of the law. This is why we have separation of power to ensure that there is balance in our democracy. Democracy comes to separation of power, where we have the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, so that everything is balanced. Well, they might also want to look at section 19, 22, 24 of the Cyber Crime Act 2025, which criminalizes fake news. So who can criminalize fake news? It's not me. I can't criminalize it. It's the court that can only see. The law is clear in everything we do. It's the courts that can actually do this. Where they can talk about section 2 sub 3 of the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2022 also. But it's only the court that can interpret all these things, not me. Well, Shoria has said that he is not. So these are their own basis for saying that Shoria is in violation, clear violation. But the truth is, who can say that Shoria is in clear violation? Not me, not you. Security agencies might allege, but they have to prove that is in clear violation, and they have to prove that in the court of competent jurisdiction, as I've said earlier on. So just a mere putting out a statement to X doesn't speak well to us as a republic. There is a place of the law. Shoria made the tweet August 25th. I believe that if they believe that is in clear violation, at this point, they should be charging Shoria to court. Shoria is a maybe a frequent visitor when it comes to Federal High Court in Abuja. Every week he tweets and posts that he has a case, if it's not against Nigerian police, against certain individual over defamation, over this. He's always going there. So I believe at this point, this is not something that we should be taking out to national stage to wash dirty linen in public. Shoria is seen as an opposition leader. And don't forget the antecedent that we've given Shoria in international scene is that he's been prosecuted for being an opposition leader. Right from the time of Muhammadu Buhari. He has been there. And this is Showoria's life. He has been an activist. I'm not speaking in favor of him. I'm just talking about the trajectory of someone called Omoyele Sowore, who thrives basically on this. And I think the DSS have taken him to a place where he enjoys
the attention,
the attention, and where he enjoys striving. So, well, it now boils down on X, but they should also not forget that why Elon Musk bought over Twitter, now X, from Jack, is the fact that he is saying that Jack actually restricted freedom of expression. And because Jack suspended the then former president of the United States of America in person of Donald J. Trump, Elon Musk had to purchase Twitter, name it X, and freedom of expression was one of the intent. What will X do? X will write you that they've seen this against you. They will advise you on the steps to take, whether to go for the legal option, to get CSO backing, or whether to just pull it down. If you wish, they will tell you if you wish, but they won't do that for you. So now what is left is for the DSS to approach a court of competent jurisdiction. Don't forget section 39 sub 1 guarantees freedom of expression. And that freedom of expression can only be taken away from you by the state, and the state through a court of competent jurisdiction. So I'm talking about process and procedure here. So if he has done something wrong, I think at this point, they need to approach a court and tell the court that Sowore needs to pull this down. And if the court sees reason why Sowore needs to pull it down, then basically the court will issue a ruling asking Sowore to pull it down. And by the way, if it's not okay with judgment, he can still appeal. That's why we have the appellate court and all. So you can still, but there's a process to this. And I think the DSS also should be aware of the process. And we should also be careful not setting precedent, because don't forget we are also a signatory to African 9 Charter on Human and People's Rights, talking about domesticated into Nigeria law, which also guarantees freedom of expression. So if we are calling ourselves giants on the African continent, we should also be careful the way we deal with things. If the DSS has taken a role of charging Sowore to court based on these tweets and saying that these tweets, based on our own analysis, can incite public violence, can incite anarchy in the country, please ask Sowore. We plead with your lordship to ask Sowore to put down this tweet and issued an apology based on the fact that he has made false publication, which he cannot deny. So So only court orders, not state agency, can compel restrictions on your fundamental human rights. That's why it is in the constitution that you are innocent until proven guilty. The security agency can allege that you are guilty, but the court also has to rule that you are guilty based on evidence. So I think at this point we should not have washed our dirty linen in public. We should have taken the civil rule instead of bouncing statements up and down. And I just want to look at some judicial precedents that we have on this case of fundamental on this case of expression. Director SSS, then SSS is what we call DSS now, but constituency refer to them as SSS. Then the other DSS was Agbakoba 1999, and I think we also had Unwako versus the state 1985. So these are cases that has been ruled on this case of expression, which we should look at. But the analysis I've given is not to say that Showore is in the right or DSS is in the right. I'm just saying that DSS have taken a path which I don't expect them to take, which is writing to X, based on the fact that we know X to be a platform that also encourages freedom of expression. And if you're saying Showore has violated any extant law in the country, I think it is not X that should be talking to. We should be talking to the court of competent jurisdiction, because X is not our judge. X is not our judiciary in this part of the world. X is just a platform. If it were to be Mark's platform that they've written to, I'm very sure that they might have headway in pulling down that tweet. But this is Elon Musk's platform himself. Elon Musk himself is one of the champions of Freedom of Expression Act. So the truth is, Showore has written, can he prove that what he has put in that statement against the presidency is true? Can he also talk about it? But what the DSS should know is that based on what we've done in this country, we are showing that do oppositions, do they have a voice when they speak? We have oppositions in South Africa like Julius Malema, who speaks. We have a whole lot of opposition, someone like Kemi, who is speaking in the UK. Don't forget when Donald Trump was in opposition in the United States. If he were to be in Nigeria, I'm very sure that most of his accounts will have been pulled down, because the way he speaks as an opposition back then, and then the way he speaks as president back then. So the question people should be asking is, did Showore violate the law? Well, potentially his statement might be considered false, offensive, or inciting under specific status, but such allegation require proper process, evidence, and adjudication, not unilateral censorship. Was DSS right to demand deactivation? No. Their action lacks legal backing, legal foundation, and bypasses judicial oversight, constituting an unconstitutional encroachment on voice and dissent. Because I didn't mention that DSS they do their job, but the court also has to rule. Because every Nigerian has a right, and only one thing can take away your right: the court. So if the DSS believe that the law was breached, they should initiate proper legal proceedings. Showore should be granted access to defend the speech in court, while platform like X should prioritize legal order, not just security agency request. Do you know what the implication is? That if a platform like X follows a security agency's request to pull down tweet, to pull down accounts without a formal court order, that is going to be in violation, and that is going to speak to the integrity of that platform. Because basically, security agencies might act on feelings, but courts act on facts and the truth of the matter. So I might not like you, and I'm a security agency boss, and I feel like Fumi has tweeted something that is even less offensive or doesn't even have any meaning. I might have to read meaning to it based on our past engagement with each other, and then next thing is I'm asking that they pull it down. So I think platforms like X would prioritize court orders over things like security agencies asking it to pull it down. DSS, well, they are doing their job as is part of their Establishment Act, that they should work on anything. They should protect and also ensure that the internal and external security of the country is well taken care of. And don't forget, they are meant to also protect whosoever in the seat of power, and their loyalty is not to an individual, but it's to the presidency. So I think at this point, they should leave Showore alone, and if they believe they have a strong case against Showore, they should approach a court of competent jurisdiction.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. But I want to pick on something that you had said, which you didn't really expand on, where you said the Showore has positioned himself as opposition. He's an activist, and it's now seeming like, if you speak against the government about something that they're doing wrong. I remember that in one of the newspaper reviews, you've always typically said that the job of the opposition is to tackle the policies that the current administration isn't doing right, so that they can be on their toes in delivering what they said in their manifesto and all of that. But when criticism of government leaders is seeming like, once you criticize, it's almost likened to a crime. Isn't that where isn't that cause for concern? Because even the current president was also once an opposition leader at some point. So what would you say to that?
Well, the current president was a very strong opposition leader, and he called, especially during Jonathan's regime, he called Jonathan into account on the killings. He called Jonathan into account on a lot of things, the economy. And don't forget the Occupy Nigerian protest that took place based on the fact that the same subsidy he has removed, Jonathan wanted to take it out. So that is the job of an opposition leader. And don't also forget that state thrives on propaganda. But most times, I'll tell you the truth, most times what you see are just some aides trying to please their master. Most cases sometimes are not from the master itself. They don't even know about it until maybe someone close to them into them. It's just one aide, one political appointee. See, one of the greatest problem about democracy in Nigeria is political appointees. They are demigods who doesn't have any moral ground or any constitutional right to do some of the things they do in trying to please their masters and also protect their own seats. Because once the master is out of power, they are also out of power. So they do things that they feel, they act on their feelings is offensive to their master. Meanwhile, some of their masters might not consider it offensive. So that is the problem we have. But Showore, if you are talking about people who have been, when I say opposition leader, I want to be clear, because when you talk about opposition leader now, you have someone like Peter Obi, you have someone like Atiku Abubakar, you have Nasir El-Rufai. And Showore, whether you like it or not, whether you like the way he does things or not, because he is more like a political activist, he also calls government into account. Some might call it sentimental calling, some might, but I don't care. He calls government into account. So, and he is also the leader of a political party. Though they've not been able to get up to 100,000 votes, he's also a leader of political party. So we should respect that. He's in opposition. He's not with the ruling party. He's saying he's contesting again. Well, I don't know whether he's going to break the record that some people have for contesting for presidency without winning. I don't know. Only Nigerians will tell whether they will vote him or not. The right is not with me. I only have one right, which is one vote. So basically, he's an opposition leader in his own right. And things like this will be seen on international stage as trying to silence opposition voice. That's just it.
Thank you so much. The phone lines are now open. Let us take this call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, you are in a noisy environment. Please, if you can get to a quiet place, please, that would be appreciated. The numbers to call 07000 917 917 09155 917 917. You can text or WhatsApp us on 08155 917 917 or 0703 1756 537. Tone, do you have a question for our analyst this morning?
Absolutely no question. He's covered everything. I have nothing else to say. He has covered everything. Manuel has covered everything. Yes.
All right.
It's 8 o'clock though. It's 8 o'clock.
It is 8
Monday,
o'clock. Yes.
Monday, 8th of September, 2025. For me, what do you want me to do now?
Oh, let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Please, I need the WFM number.
You are calling WFM.
No, the one I can use to call, like online.
You are calling. I'm speaking to you. You are live online.
I think we should just
Okay, please.
yeah, thank you.
The numbers to call 07000 917 or 09155 917 917. I'll take a message or two and then Tony, you can go into the next headline. This one says, "Good morning to everyone in the studio. Thugs invade rally in Lagos. Are you people reporting what we know already or what? The strength of APC is in the use of thugs. APC and their followers know too well that they are not popular. Even the police is taking their side. Brand new day with the news of killings again. Is there no end to these killings? Why do we have a government? Please, what is the work of the government?" This is Mayor from Ikotun Egbe. Hello, good morning.
My name is Omoto Lukman. I'm calling from Akuchi.
Say that again. Your name is?
My name is Omoto Lukman.
Okay.
I'm from Akuchi. I'm calling from Akuchi.
Good morning. Good morning. Go ahead.
We appreciate the analyst. He has really analyzed very well. But to me, you see, on moral ground, Shore is too stubborn to have said that to an elder. Let's put it aside, whether it's a politician or the president. Then the issue of you are even saying that to somebody who is in authority. Saying that somebody that is ruling the country is an embarrassment to this nation. So this guy, I knew he's an antecedent. The way he was rusticated from university, I knew. So he's a stubborn unionist when he was in school. So it doesn't really bother me. But on moral ground, this guy is nowhere to be found. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your call. I'll take these two extra messages then turn over to you. Nupeng wants to go on strike simply because Dangote is about to hire over 4,000 new truck drivers for his CNG trucks with no intention of allowing them join any association. The time when they hold this country to ransom because of unrealistic demands is getting over, and I'm glad I am alive to witness this. ASU is next. At what point are our laws going to permit us to be able to sue some of these labor unions? What happened to freedom of association? Can't I opt not to be a member of any union? Olushoga Ajayi from Odonla, Ikorodu. This one, Prince. Good morning to all Nigerians who are eagerly waiting for a new Nigeria. Mr. Emmanuel, how are you? Please, I want to ask you this morning, can the Nigerian military replicate what they did in Okwama in Delta community over these terrorists who killed soldiers and other civilians in the north yesterday? Emmanuel, the naira has gained strength to $1 with 1,500 naira as an achievement from this government. Why are we like this? Prince is humbly asking. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, WFM 917. So I'll take the messages from Facebook. Ozo Francis Omaga Anamani from Enugu State says, "Good morning, my people in the studio, and keep up the good work. The issue of killings by Boko Haram bandits and suspected herders have become a recurring incident in the country. Where are we going from here? The federal government should urgently wield into the saga between Dangote and Nupeng to avert the looming fuel crisis in the country. A stitch in time saves 9." Tom, over to you. Or Emmanuel, did you want to react to anyone?
Yeah, before Tom, I just want to react to Kola. Basically, what we do is the fact that we have no ground to judge anybody morally. So we can't sit down here and judge Omoyele Showere's moral standing because we are not in the place of a judge. We just have to speak the fact out to you, and the fact is what we spill out on Women Radio and what we've done this morning.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Go over to you, Tom.
It's 5 minutes after 8, Monday, 8th of September, 2025. In the Daily Trust of today, we're talking about schools resume amid biting economy. So what I'm hoping to do, because what we have in the Daily Trust is a combination of touching on parents in Kaduna State, Plateau State. So, they had a number of interviews that they did with parents. But the bulk of today's the headline, Emmanuel, is talking about the fact that we need to do something about our public schools because the cost of sending children to private schools is very, very expensive. So the report says many public and private schools will resume the 2025-2026 academic session today, and they're talking about secondary schools. Parents are expressing deep concerns over the skyrocketing fees, textbooks, bus fees, and other charges imposed by proprietors. I have a particular, I want to touch on one that says education experts have called on government to revive public schools to address the menace in the sector. Okay, they're also saying that the Director General of Kaduna State Schools Quality Assurance Authority has cautioned proprietors against arbitrary hikes, saying any increment requires Parents Teachers Association's agreement with the quorum, a formal application, enrollment data, and minutes of the PTA meeting before they can even say they want to increase school fees. He also directed publishers to stop producing textbooks with built-in worksheets that cannot be reused. So from Plateau State, the Plateau State House of Assembly just Thursday gone resolved to halt the compulsory yearly purchase of textbooks imposed on parents by school across the state, insisting that books should be recirculated among pupils, including siblings, as part of measure to reduce the financial burden on parents. And the last bit I just want to pick up is that the House said parents should have the freedom to reuse textbooks or buy them from sources outside the schools. And the lawmakers recommended a 4-year textbook cycle where approved materials remain in use for at least 4 academic sessions. So basically, it is, the rising cost of living crisis across the country is eating deep into citizens' income. They are struggling to take their children to private schools. The cost of private schools is high. They take their children to public schools where they practically, according to them, do not learn anything. Emmanuel, over to you. How can we rescue the future of Nigeria in the midst of the biting economy and not being able to send children to private schools?
When we speak about economy and inflation, we always say that it has a ripple effect on our living. But some feel like, oh, it doesn't affect me. It affects every one of us. It's in our day-to-day activity. So when inflation goes up, it affects a whole lot of things. And this is what we're seeing in the education sector. And how can we salvage this? I think number one is the government must be intentional about the education sector. Was it on Friday we spoke about education is not a scam? Yeah, I think it was on Friday. Basically, the government must be intentional about the education sector. And what we're seeing is the fact that growing up, some public schools then were the eye of the nation, the pride of the nation. But what we've had now is private institutions coming to take the space of some top public schools back then. But don't forget that for anybody to set up a private institution of learning, the person is not looking at giving out to the public free of charge. The person is looking at maximizing profit. It's profit for the person. I give you a service while I make profit. That is just the major aim. So nobody will tell you he's setting up a school and is not bound on getting profit. If the profit margin is too low, they increase the fee. And what we have is that for any business, there is no law that regulates how you increase your fee. I don't know whether they have that in financial sector, but in the education sector, there is no law that regulates how you increase your fee. Now, one aspect that I want to touch on is a textbook that was mentioned by Tom. While I was in school, it might not be too long, but basically in secondary school back then and in primary school, what you have is you have your separate textbook. Some of them, they have a lifespan of about 6-8 years, while you also have workbooks. So if you can prove that you have textbooks, you don't need to purchase the textbook. You need to get the workbook, which is not for every subject, but for some basic subjects. But I'm so surprised because when I looked at my niece and then she packs all the books and then she tells me that we have to do the assignments in our textbook, I was wondering what kind of logic actually brought that into place. But I see that as a capitalist mentality that has eaten into our education sector. Because once you use the workbook section of the textbook, it cannot be reused. So instead of purchasing a new workbook, maybe for your younger child that is just 2 years behind, you have to buy a new set, and then the old one is just there wasting away in your store. So the truth is, we've had people who, based on the fact that there has not been proper regulation of these things, who are profiting from it at the detriment of our children's success. They are looking for maximum profit and they are doing everything possible, conniving, because I don't understand how the lifespan of a textbook will just be 2 years. Are you telling me that I sit down to write 80 pages textbook and then it's just for 2 years? There are some books we read back then, and I know that 6 sets ahead of me read those books. So some of us don't even need to buy some of those literary books. We had to get it from seniors who are going and be like, oh, take this. So you are going to need what was it called? The Incorruptible Judge. You are going to read it in JSS3. I don't need it again. So you get the Incorruptible Judge from your senior. You get these books from your seniors because they don't need it again. So they just give it to you. So you don't even need to buy, which save cost. The only thing is just workbook. But now I see a direct conniving, maybe between school owners and publishers, and some of them are even publishers. Because if I ask, some people will tell you that if I ask a particular set, maybe within 10 years gap that I attended a secondary school, they will tell you that the book we use is called Intensive English. A particular group of people between 15 and 20 years will tell you that we can't forget Edet lives in Calabar. He's 8 years old. So basically, there was structure in place. But because we stopped paying attention to education, we allow people who are not concerned about whether you get the best and quality education to take charge of the education sector, and now we are reaping the effect. The effect is going to be fees that go up. I don't blame private school for putting up the fees, because number one, they will tell you that the tax, some of them tell you the tax they pay from whether to the government, to the local authorities, is just something that is so huge and they have to fill it in because they will not run at loss. Nobody puts money down for business to run at loss. And even government, let's look at the government aspect. I went to a unity school and I can still remember my school fees from GSS 1 to SS3. But last time I was talking to someone in unity school and was telling me their school fees, I'm like, okay, see the same unity school? They are now paying the price of what we tagged as what private institutions do pay back then. And as if this discussion is timely, yesterday night I was speaking to a big sis of mine who resides in Abuja and was telling me that a one-way bus drop for one of their neighbors who stays in the same estate with them in Abuja, one way, the parent drops them in the morning, the bus brings them back, bus parents still be at work. For 3 kids per month is 500,000. And I asked, can the kids not walk? Because when you said it's within there, just 5 minutes walk. A bus, one-way bus, just 500,000. And you know, parents are out there working, hustling. They don't even, some of them come home by 6, by 8. They don't want to leave the kids at school. They have to find a way to bring them back. So in this economic situation, you see parents juggling a whole lot just to ensure that bills falls on paying school fees and putting children through school. And this is taking a strain on parents. And then when you talk, now I spoke about ripple effect. So you talk about why are we having so many young people with high blood pressure? You should know the reason. Because apart from the educational bills, you are still having light bills. But someone was telling me, oh, my neighbors were asking me, how do I even manage to pay 150,000 naira per month on light, and then they are paying much. I'm like, you pay 150 and they are still asking you. Like, so it's just a whole lot for parents at this stage. And it's as a result of one thing. Some bad economic policies that we've taken as a nation are coming back to authors. And this is my worry when people tell me, oh, it's not affecting me, I don't care. I'm not going to vote. It's not affecting me. I look at them. You will care when you pay the bills. It's not going to affect you directly because you are not a politician, you are not within political office, but every decision made by the political office holders affects each and every one of us, whether we like it or not. So basically, what we're seeing in the education sector is something that stakeholders need to sit down together. Parents are going through a lot, and in some cases, students are not getting good education. We are having low quality of teachers because some schools, some private institutions cannot even afford to pay teachers. If you go to some private institution, I'm telling you, do you know why private institutions like taking core members now? Private education institutions like taking core members now.
They don't have to pay
because they don't have to pay the way they pay a qualified teacher. Do you know we speak about changing curriculum for what is it called? For I said textbooks for children within 4 years. But the NCE curriculum that we've been using is opaque and has been there for how many years? An NCE order ought to have been taught on how to teach, but now even the NCE graduates we are having, schools can no longer take them. We are looking for people who are having Bachelor of Science. You know, when you have Bachelor of Science, is basically in research. NCE teaches you how to teach. So we've lost the fundamentals and it's affecting us. But we are not ready to go back to the fundamentals because what we have now is just institutions trying to make profits while government has abandoned their own institution. Only few state governments are trying to take charge of their own institution. See, my mom worked in the education sector before she retired. And then I know towards the twilight of her career in the service before she retired, she comes back home and is complaining that they transferred this girl to my school. She cannot even speak. I went to check them. She cannot even write. How would they bring her? Like, we employ people who are not qualified to be in the classroom to teach leaders of tomorrow. At the end of the day, they have nothing which we can call knowledge. But you know, it's garbage in, garbage out that we have now. So the main emphasis we have is we have people who can cram textbook but lack basic knowledge of how society works. And when you discuss with them, you see textbook knowledge, but you don't see any knowledge outside society. I call them brilliant, but I don't call them knowledgeable. We have a lot of brilliant people, but we don't have people with knowledge in this country. So they are book smart. When you tell them what is in Ababio, this is Ababio. I don't know what is in Ababio.
I use Ababio.
What is in Ababio? You see them downloading everything for you, but tell them to apply it to everyday living. They are lost because what we have is garbage in, garbage out. So the education sector is something that all stakeholders need to sit down and watch. Government needs to go back and work on their own school. And part of the things that killed government school is because we killed a system of government called local government. I don't want to start joining everything together because if you look at all these UBE schools, they are local government schools. Local government ought to provide education. All those UBE schools, UBEC, everything you see are schools that should be under local government authority. But because the state has kidnapped, let me use the word kidnapped local government authority into the state authority, what we have now is negligence. And you go to all those local schools in villages, UBE school, UBEC schools, I don't know what they call them now, but you see them, they are in a state of, they're not even in coma, they are dead. So that is the irony. A schools where you don't see teachers come to school. A schools where teachers come to give students a way to pluck. A schools where a student has to break melon for teachers. I went to a unity school and I know, though back then our hostel were already looking like barracks, but we still thank God we had quality teachers. We had teachers for every subject. Teachers that taught me maths in GS was not the one that taught me maths in GS2. You can have 10 maths teachers in school. You have teachers that teaches you English, not literature. I
want to interrupt a little bit because we only have five more minutes. Look, I went, myself and my siblings, we went to private schools. But even our father still got us, well, he got me a private tutor because I was very bad with arithmetic and mathematics. But that is not, what I really want to focus on is the fact that many public primary and secondary schools, according to the report in the Daily Trust, are suffering from poor infrastructure with frustrated teachers being in charge. In fact, in most of the public schools, only children of the poor are enrolled, right?
Yeah.
Now, In Arepo, I want to talk about Arepo. Following the Women Radio Center training we did, I think 3 years ago, one of the fellow students, Blessing Olatunjuri, focused on Arepo community. And that's where we found out that there is only one public primary school in Arepo, right? Only one, what am I talking about? Yes, the only public primary school in Arepo, right? We had to visit following her report, does not have, is in a bad state. I visited with my colleagues last year, and the school was not habitable, though students occupied the school. One of the ceilings was opened up that you could see the skies. And I can imagine how the teachers would have to be praying that it should not rain. And what did we do? Blessing did her report. We forwarded it to the Ogun State government. We are still tracking. I remembered the Ministry of Education telling us that the school is one of the ones that had been earmarked to be rehabilitated. The school is still in a bad shape. And I'm aware that parents generally resort to borrowing money. Now, there is a comment you have made, and there's a comment here in the report that we need to get government to revive public schools to address this problem. Because after all, they send their schools to private schools and abroad. Also, in the defense of proprietors, they said they have to increase school fees and other charges because they cited huge taxes imposed on them by government. So, Miana, I want you to please, if you can, in a minute or two, what do we do in charging the government, in making the government accountable to ensure that the future of Nigerians are secured?
Well, basically, what the government needs to do and what we need to do to ensure that the government is held accountable is to ask them questions. And I always love some people like Budget IT. You have to follow the money because some of this money has been released for renovation of these schools. Some of this money has been released to do some things in this school, but an individual has taken the money. So I think we need to have a proper system like what Budget IT has and what places like social organizations, some of them have, to follow this money. And where government is not doing enough, like what Women Radio did, and following up in the community school and taking it to Ogun State government, a lot of people needs to do that and bring it to their attention. Because I won't lie to you, see, when you get to the ministry, some of these schools have been renovated on paper, but in reality they are not renovated. Some of these schools on paper, they have competent teachers, but in reality they don't have anybody there. They've just given some people work who are ghost workers and who are not reporting for that and getting money. So I think there has to be a holistic approach to addressing this fundamental, I call it foundational challenge. And you can't just address foundational challenge from up. You have to go down. So we have to all become stakeholders in this, whether your child is in private or public school, and hold government accountable. Free education, some schools are still collecting money. So it's just a whole lot we need to do. And I think maybe we should just dedicate an episode talking about education.
Yes, we definitely should do that. Tom, what do you think?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Nelfund, hopefully we can even ask Nelfund to look at indigent schools, indigent parents, and helping them in primary schools. We should dedicate a whole day to
speaking about education.
So. Yeah.
Well, we've run out of time. Nigerian issues is not 1 hour cannot cut solving Nigeria's issues, but we've run out of time, unfortunately. And many thanks to you, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for always coming on the show, for your analysis, your in-depth analysis, and your passion. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you very much for me, and thank you too.
Yes, and with that being said, this is the end of the Full Breakfast Show on WFM 91.7. My name is Fumi Bangbara.
I am Tom Okewale Shonaya.
And
enjoy your Monday.
Yes, absolutely. Goodbye for now.
Bye-bye.